What I'm confused about, Mr. Hegseth, is which is it? Why should women in our military, if you were the Secretary of Defense, believe that they would have a fair shot and an equal opportunity to rise through the ranks? If on the one hand, you say that women are not competent, they make our military less effective, and on the other hand, you say, oh no, now that I've been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense, I've changed my view on women in the military. What do you have to say to the almost 400,000 women who are serving today?
However, I would point out, ensuring that standards are equal and high is of importance to him and great importance to me. Because in those ground combat roles, what is true is that the weight of the ruck on your back doesn't change. The weight of the 155 round that you have to carry doesn't change. The weight of the 240 Bravo machine gun you might have to carry doesn't change.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. You guys know what today is, right? It is Tuesday, January 14th, Pete Hegseth's confirmation. He is going through the confirmation process right now with senators for his nomination of Secretary of Defense. This is very, very new information, guys. Hot off the press, and I want you guys to stick with me in this video. But before we get into it, don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications, watch the video to the end. Now let's get into it. So Donald Trump has a lot of his confirmations going through, well, his nominees going through the confirmation process this week. We've got Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, and others, Scott Turner, Scott Bessent, and we have others as well. But here today is Pete Hegseth's confirmation, and I'm going to give you the high points right now. Here is Senator Shaheen. She is a 77-year-old senator out of New Hampshire. And yes, he testifies before the Senate Armed Services Committee. All right. And here is Mrs. Shaheen right now. And she's not backing up off of Hegseth, let me tell you. But he responds beautifully.
Hegseth.
Good morning, Senator.
I was pleased when I was contacted on your behalf about meeting before this hearing. I've been on this committee since 2011, and during that time, I voted to confirm 6 nominees to be Secretary of Defense from 3 administrations, 2 Democratic and 1 Republican, the first Trump administration. Every one of those nominees met with me and my Democratic colleagues on this committee before the hearing. So as you can imagine, I was disappointed when no one ever followed up. When we followed up with your office, you were not able to meet. Do you understand that if you're confirmed to be Secretary of Defense, that you will have a responsibility to meet with all members of this committee, not just Republicans?
Senator, I very much appreciate and understand the traditionally bipartisan nature of this committee. Their national defense is not partisan. It should not be about Republicans or Democrats. And so I look forward to working together with you and your colleagues on priorities facing this nation. Yes.
I think we would expect that. And one reason that I wanted to meet with you was because I thought it would be really helpful to better understand your views on women in the military. Because you've made a number of surprising statements about women serving in the military. As recently as November the 7th of 2024 on the Sean Ryan show, you said, and I quote, "I'm straight up saying that we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective." The quote went on a little longer, but that was the gist of it. That was before you were nominated to be Secretary of Defense. Mr. Hegseth, do you know what percentage of our military is comprised of women?
I believe it's 18 to 20%, Senator.
It's almost 18%. And in fact, DOD's 2023 demographic report indicated that there are more women serving now and there are fewer separations. So they make up a critical part of our military. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, ma'am. Women in our military, as I have said publicly, have and continue to make amazing contributions across all aspects of our battlefield.
Well, you also write in your book, The War on Warriors, with the chapter, The Deadly Obsession with Women Warriors, that, quote, "Not only are women comparatively less effective than men in combat roles, but they are more likely to be objectified by the enemy and their own nation in the moral realms of war."
Let me just say, what Pete Hegseth is directly facing and up against right now, as we all are on the conservative side, is that there is this notion that men and women are physically the same, and we are not. We're different. That's why we don't want men who identify as women participating in real women's sports, where you have biological women going up against what is actually a biological man. You know what I mean? It's like, we understand the biological differences, and what Pete Hegseth, and they're going to go into this, but his focus is meritocracy. Don't lower it so more women can come in. Just keep it high, and whoever can fit it, male or female. But what she's going to do is do this feminist thing. Oh, women can do everything a man can do, and I'm just here to tell y'all, and you might get mad in the comment section. You might get all up in your feelings, but there are absolutely things that men just do better. And also, there are things that women do better. But when it comes to this, we need to respect how God made us. There's nothing wrong with that. And I've seen women try, but they, for some reason, the women I've seen move a little slower. But if it's a woman that can do it, great. He's not against women doing it. He just wants the merit to be high. And she's going to jackleg this whole thing and try to make him look like a misogynist, because that's what the Democrats do. They put animosity between the ethnicities, black and white, and they're putting animosity between men and women, because that's what they do on the Democrat side.
Mr. Hegseth, should we take it to believe that you believe that the two women on this committee who have served honorably and with distinction made our military less effective and less capable?
I'm incredibly grateful for the two women who've served our military in uniform, and including in the Central Intelligence Agency, contributions on the battlefield, indispensable contributions. Senator, I would like to clarify, when I'm talking about that issue, it's not about the capabilities of men and women, it's about standards. And this committee has talked a lot about standards that we, unfortunately, over time, have seen eroded in certain duty positions, certain schools, certain places, which affects readiness, which is what I care about the most. Readiness on the battlefield.
I appreciate that.
And so my comments point time and time again to standards.
Your statements publicly have not been to that effect. After your nomination, you did state to a group of reporters that you, quote, support all women serving in our military today who do a fantastic job across the globe, including combat. So what I'm confused about, Mr. Hegseth, is which is it? Why should women in our military, if you were the Secretary of Defense, believe that they would have a fair shot and an equal opportunity to rise through the ranks? If on the one hand, you say that women are not competent, they make our military less effective, and on the other hand, you say, oh no, now that I've been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense, I've changed my view on women in the military. What do you have to say to the almost 400,000 women who are serving today about your position on whether they should be capable to rise through the highest ranks of our military?
Senator, I would say I would be honored to have the opportunity to serve alongside you, shoulder to shoulder, men and women, black, white, all backgrounds, with a shared purpose. Our differences are not what define us. Our unity and our shared purpose is what define us, and you will be treated fairly and with dignity, honor, and respect, just like every man and woman in uniform, just like the men and women that I've worked with in my veterans organizations, to include when I was a headquarters and headquarters company commander in the Minnesota National Guard.
Well, I appreciate your 11th
well.
hour conversion, but Mr. Chairman, for the record, I would like to submit Chapter 5, The Deadly Obsession with Women Warriors, for the record.
She is determined just to be against him. And you notice how Democrats and left-leaning media always push and cut people off when they're trying to spit out truth. They talk over them because they don't want you to know the truth. Here is Senator Cotton in his questioning of Pete Hegseth.
Continue on this line of questioning about what's sometimes referred to as women in combat. I think that phrase is something of a misnomer. Many members of this committee have served in combat in the last 25 years, to include women and men. I'm sure all those men served with women, whether they were military police officers or they were pilots or whether they were intelligence analysts or medics or what have you. You served. I assume you served with women who were on the front lines as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And were those women anything other than skilled, brave, and honorable in their service?
They were some of the best soldiers I worked with.
So women have been serving in combat for a long time. Women have even been serving in combat units like infantry battalions for a long time in roles like medics or mechanics or what have you. So what we're talking about here specifically is women in ground combat roles in jobs like infantrymen or artillerymen or special forces. Now, until about 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. Under Secretary Panetta, those roles were opened up to women to serve in. Has President Trump indicated at all that he plans to rescind or alter that guidance?
You're correct to point out, Senator, that these are the decisions that the Commander-in-Chief will have the prerogative to make. He has not indicated to me that he has plans to change whether or not women would have access to these roles. However, I would point out, ensuring that standards are equal and high is of importance to him and great importance to me. Because in those ground combat roles, what is true is that the weight of the ruck on your back doesn't change. The weight of the 155 round that you have to carry doesn't change. The weight of the 240 Bravo machine gun you might have to carry doesn't change. And so whether it's a man or a woman, they have to meet the same high standards. And Senator, in any place where those things have been eroded or in courses, criteria have been changed in order to meet quotas, racial quotas or gender quotas, that is putting a focus on something other than readiness, standards, meritocracy, and lethality. So that's the kind of review I'm talking about, not whether women have access to ground combat.
Okay, so thank you. So you expect no change to that guidance, but as you point out, in these specific jobs, there are irreducible physical demands. We expect our intelligence analysts and our mechanics to be physically fit in the military, but it's different when you're in the infantry or the artillery. You just mentioned a few things. Let me point it out. An artillery shell weighs almost 100 pounds. An Abrams tank round weighs around 50 pounds. The M240 Bravo machine gun with its tripod weighs almost 50 pounds. The average weight of a full kit, ammo, water, commo, body armor for a soldier is over 100 pounds. Nothing you can do can change any of those things, right? That is physical reality.
Go ahead. Yes, Senator. And I would say the requirements to handle those things in a ground combat unit, as far as standards, can look different than those of a medic or a drone pilot. And so it's not that it has to be the same standard throughout, it's standards to maximize efficacy of that particular position.
Let me
See, what he's saying is those of us on the conservative side, we want the bar to be high. And, you know, as they stated, the artillery, the guns, and all this stuff on your back, you got to be able to run. You got to be able to carry it. You got to be able to go so far with all this weight, 100 pounds. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm just saying some men wouldn't be able to do it. So whether you're a man or woman or black or white, whatever you are, this is the standard. You got to meet it. And there are things that when you have to go apply for a job or do certain things, if you just don't meet it, you don't meet it. What the Democrats want to do is try to paint this man out to be a misogynist. And this is, again, Senator Cotton. He's one of those ones, like I just told you, that came after Tulsi Gabbard saying that she's got to go along, you know, with this FISA stuff in order to be confirmed. And so she caved a bit, but I trust her. I trust her. So I believe she's going to do what she needs to do. She's just trying to be confirmed right now. Of course, Pete Hegseth, as when we all get into these in the hot seat, we got to be confirmed and we got to say certain things. But I believe Pete Hegseth is being honest. He still said meritocracy must be met. So whoever meets it, meets it. But it needs to be adjusted depending on what role that a person is playing. Okay, so whatever role that person is playing. And I don't care what y'all say, these demons and these rhinos are not country first. They don't want God. They don't want country, allegedly, because of how they do. They're going to drill this man based on something that he said. He's never done the stuff that they've done. Let's get back into it.
Read a quote here from one Army officer. While it may be difficult for a 120-pound woman to lift or drag 250 pounds, the Army cannot artificially absolve women of that responsibility. It may still exist on the battlefield. The entire purpose of creating a gender-neutral test was to acknowledge the reality that each job has objective physical standards to which all soldiers should be held, regardless of gender. The intent was not to ensure that women and men will have an equal likelihood of meeting those standards. I assume, based on your testimony, you agree with that Army officer?
Absolutely. The standards need to be the same and they need to be high. And they need to be set by the people closest to the problem set, closest to the understanding of what is required by that job. Commanders, commanding officers, and COCOMs and elsewhere who understand the reality of what they face, that's the feedback we should get. That's what should be enshrined and enforced, and no other set of political prerogatives. When I talk about removing politics, ideological or political prerogatives should contribute to those determinations, nothing other than the execution of the mission.
Thank you.
The execution of the mission, it should just be based on, can you meet it? Can you meet it? And there should be no focus on other things like orientation, color, gender. Just can you meet? And that is what should be done, the best for the job. We talking about combat. We're talking about going out in the battlefield. We're not sitting up here talking about doing what I'm doing that doesn't have any weight requirement or speed attached to it. Just sit up here and talk. Everything has requirements, everything, even what I do. I mean, you have to be able to be articulate and be able to be a certain amount of entertainment involved, depending on what kind of podcast that you're doing, then you need to be able to accomplish those tasks, irrespective of anything else. And that's all that Pete Hegseth is about. But you know, they're going to make it about something else. But I just wanted to give you guys a couple of things. And one of the men that was at this confirmation hearing, he said there's a group of women that have worked with Pete that want to give their support to him. So that is also part of the confirmation hearing as well, which I think is an excellent idea to have these group of women come forth, because they're going to try and paint him as a sexist person. You know, they're trying to make it seem like, are you saying women shouldn't be? No, he didn't say that. Like that Senator Shaheen said out of New Hampshire. That's what she's pushing off. She had a bit of an attitude. You need to get it together. Well, I appreciate you changing your mind in the 11th hour. She'll helpful too. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications. Don't forget you can catch me on the Linda B Show Tuesdays and Thursdays, guys. I push out a new video around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, the United States of America, and march on, warriors.